There we go. There we go. All right, as promised, we're going to start off with an exercise. So if you guys didn't know, today is a mental health talk. We did introduction to Royal Arch Masonry last month, and we'll continue that series along that same vein over the next few months. And eventually into the summertime, we'll do some financial literacy. This is going to be an overall educational wellness series, so that we take the whole man concept, as far as masonry goes. But what I want you to first do is everybody do me this favor. Again, just close your eyes and we're gonna count backwards from 10. So everybody play along with me. Close your eyes, please. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody open your eyes. How do you feel? Everybody feel relaxed? Give me a thumbs up if you feel relaxed. Now we're gonna go to the opposite ends of the spectrum. As promised, I want everybody to scream. Right now, scream. Scream. Everybody scream. You do scream. All right. Now that we scream today and going forward and for the rest of your life, we want to find balance between the calm and the chaos. With that being said, let me introduce our speaker for today. It's Miss Kenya Taylor. She has more than 20 years of experience in mental health, while including this all includes anxiety, depression, interventions for chronic health conditions, pain management, first responders and their families, women's health, and successful aiding to enhance individual couples, family therapy. She continues to promote wellness in urban, rural, and suburban communities. As a licensed marriage and family therapist, Ms. Taylor has directed strategic plans and planning for students, teachers, and families to address the diverse needs in schools, trauma, facilitated hundreds of prevention workshops, program evaluations, leadership development, staff engagements, and satisfaction, to name a few. I know that was a mouthful. Mrs. Taylor holds a Master's of Science degree in counseling, specializes in marriage, family, and child counseling, and a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from San Diego State University. Certificates on how to plan and implement and sustain intergenerational programs, geriatric mental health, and primary care behavior. She specializes in ADHD, anxiety, childhood behavior issues, later life transitions, medical conditions, to name a few. She is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She is the president of the NAACP San Diego branch, none other than Ms. Kenya Taylor.
Thank you so much, Dr. Randall, for that introduction. And thank you so much, gentlemen, for having me today. This is a great time for us to build on the exercise Dr. Randall had us doing. There's a lot going on in the world, and balancing self-care and wellness and chaos is something that we normally do. Now, I hope you don't mind me saying it, but I think Black men have a harder time in this country than anybody. Maybe a harder time in the world. Well, actually, I do believe that, but you may disagree, but that's okay if you disagree with me. However, there's solutions for success to build on the great work that you're already doing. I think Brother Ewan, he should be here shortly, but I'm going to try my best to help come up with some solutions for success to help you. I quickly also want to thank Dr. Randall for being on a panel that we had. I've been in my profession going on 24 years this year. And in December, Dr. Randall was on a panel that I've called Coping with the Holiday Blues. And this was a panel geared towards veterans. However, coping with the holiday blues is something a number of us have experienced or know someone who has. Unfortunately, the numbers of suicide have gone up. Self-medication has gone up. How many of you know someone who suffers in silence? Yeah, okay. Or how about someone who self-medicates? Okay. When I started in the field about 24 years ago, a lot of times people said, just pray on it. Everything's going to be okay. It often happens now in the Black community, but I like to think of a therapist just like a coach. If we have athletes on the call here today, the greatest athletes of all times all have a coach. Let me know if I'm wrong. Sometimes we just have to learn to pivot to get additional choices. But I mentioned that panel, Coping with the Holiday Blues, because for a lot of people, that holiday season starts a huge time of depression. If you're all in California, San Diego, we are the highest, most expensive place in the nation. Our counterparts in other cities in California experience a number of things. Who would have thought a gallon of orange juice would be nearly $10, or the price of eggs would be up, or homes on average would be 800, 900,000. Most people work hard, but at the same time, there's constantly struggles that are there. Let's talk about careers, jobs. A lot of times you do the work, put in overtime, but don't get the rewards from your hard work. I say a therapist is just like a coach, because sometimes we have to create our own playbook so we could win our game, our own game, our personal game, our family game. A lot of times people, if they're having financial problems, they start fighting with their spouses. I had a few couples sessions earlier this morning, and I do it on a Sunday specifically because a lot of people can't leave their 9 to 5 to get therapy. And it was an unmet niche that I'm able to help some people out. Now, regardless of the therapist or not, does anybody like sports? Okay. The goal is to win, right? Right. But we're not 100% perfect all the time. When we try to be perfect, that leads to anxiety. When we think about the past, the shoulda, woulda, couldas, that leads to more depression. When I mentioned that Coping with the Holiday Blues panel, it was a great opportunity to hear from people who weren't mental health providers. Everyone doesn't need a therapist, but sometimes we need to talk to somebody. It doesn't matter who it is. However, we have to be careful not to talk to people and then they go and run their mouth. So a lot of people don't want to talk, right? But sometimes if you have a brotherhood where you have opportunities to create those safer spaces to talk, it could help us heal. There's a lot of pain and struggles and anxieties and worries and pressures and stress that people feel. But when we think about solutions for success, when we could get help, we could help others heal and we could help ourselves heal. Has anybody on the call been to war? Active participant in war? Okay. I see a lot of hands. Do you know how many people? I don't have a number, but I've seen a lot of people, friends, professionally, who've been re-triggered by all the things going on in the wars all over the world. Some people have survivor's guilt. I've been with people and they'll get a phone call. Somebody's calling them, sometimes intoxicated or crying, and intoxicated with all kind of substances too, right? It's time for us to say it's okay to get some support, because just like the athletes that have a coach, they all have a trainer. They all have a coach. They all have medical staff that they turn to. But the other piece, Dr. Randall mentioned I have a background in primary care behavioral health. He mentioned I work with kids, but at the same time, I've worked in primary care. I have a geriatric background, so I'm not going to talk to you like you're 18 or under, by no means. But I've worked with everybody. I mention this because the more we're stressed, the more likely our blood pressure will go up. Does anybody know anybody with high blood pressure? Anybody know anybody with uncontrolled high blood pressure? No matter what they do, their blood pressure is just not going down? Okay. You're a professional organization. If you've been in for 10 years and went to a banquet 10 years ago, the chickens that we have at these banquets were not as big as they are now. I don't know what they're putting in the food. I'm not pretending to be a scientist or anything else, but I know there's some steroids and other chemicals that's in food these days. Especially if we look at things 10, 20, 30 years ago compared to now. People are getting sicker and sicker. Cancer rates are on the rise. The more we're stressed, the lower our immune systems are. The first thing as a therapist, I ask, when's the last time you've been to the doctor? Now, I hope you don't mind me saying, men don't always run to the doctor as fast as women for minor issues or even prevention. There's been a big push with a lot of organizations lately regarding prostate cancer checks. February, heart health, but everyone doesn't get their blood pressure checked. Depression, our brain is connected to the rest of our body, and somehow we have overall an idea that our minds and our bodies are separate. They're all connected. But the greatest thing is prevention and early intervention to help people thrive. I mentioned the playbook earlier because building on the great work you've been doing, sometimes it's helpful to even just hear from you. What are some of the things that you do to help you when you're stressed or overwhelmed? Because those strategies can help save your life or somebody else. If you don't mind, may I ask what are some of the things you do to help you feel better? Or reduce stress or frustration?
Brothers, you can unmute. This is a safe space. We got one hand up. Trey, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that I do, and it's been like this for at least for the last 2 years now, is that I have a life coach. I like to frame them as that, right? And leverage those resources available. And what I've noticed is that it's nice to be able to go into a place and just let it all out, your frustrations, and then get a different perspective, right? And you realize a lot of times we are our own worst critics, and we don't objectively look at the things that we've done and the things that we're doing and how that contributes and how that makes us better as individuals. So this having someone to validate, your frustrations to a degree, but also give you perspective when you're overly looking at things from a critical perspective has definitely helped me. Along with that, we do mindful meditation together, similar to what we just did as far as the beginning exercise. But one thing I will say about that, and I think this is the most important thing, is that being in tune with your body, because we carry around so much stress day to day, and it tends to resonate in different forms, right? But taking a moment and scheduling a moment throughout the day, a reminder just to be present in that very moment has been something that has helped me juggle the various struggles in life, and seeing the communication has improved because of that, because I recognize where it comes from. I recognize when I'm frustrated about something. So it's been good. So
Thank you for sharing that.
Appreciate that, Trey. We had I got a hand up from Mr. Ostenauer, but Dr. McShepherd states that he walks around the house. It's what he does. He reads a book to relax in a quiet space. Quiet space is huge, right? You have to have that me time, and we'll talk more about that later. Ostenauer, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I like what you said, ma'am, earlier. One of my biggest strength and weakness, but my weakness is perfection. And my mentor, I can tell you, if things don't go well, I tend to lose my mind, and then my anxiety goes up. Again, my mentor, I can tell you. A month ago, we had a conversation. It's something I've been doing, and as well. And it is waking up early in the morning and taking 15 minutes to myself. dark room, no shoes, feet ground on the earth, just meditate. And what I have been doing lately is Philippians 4:13, say it over and over and over again. I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Thus far, it's been better.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. These are excellent ideas. Anyone else? And it may be something you heard someone else do that you think about trying. I've heard meditation, being grounded, that slows things down. I went to a 3-day mindfulness meditation training about 12 years ago. Some people like to slow down. Others like to do things that are fast. Some people like to go outdoors, walk, run, listen to music. Everyone's different. Anyone else?
Brothers, this is, again, this is a
Hey,
safe
how you doing?
space.
This is Alex Austin.
There you go.
I
Appreciate
like
you.
to go and jump on my Harley and just go for a ride. I live up here in the Pacific Northwest, and something about getting on my motorcycle and just being free. It's me, it's the Lord, it's the air, it's the wind. I can feel temperature changes. I can feel it's a oneness with nature. So that really works for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know in the state of Washington, they were allowing people to get acupuncture. And I think some places in Oregon, they were allowing patients to get acupuncture as a treatment modality instead of therapy. Who
We had
else?
and Mr. Lewis Contreras put in the chat, Dr. Taylor, that he goes to the gym and lets it all out, as do I a lot of time, in silence and in pain. So that gym releases those cortisols, build up, that anxiety build up, and it is therapeutic for a lot of people. So that's a good one.
These are all great strategies. If you're not doing them now, I encourage you to do them. One thing that we don't always state as people of color, for those who identify themselves as Black, a number of us have experienced trauma. We hold it in our bodies. We don't call it trauma because we keep going. We make things happen regardless. Let me pause for a second. I see another hand.
Go ahead, Orlando.
Hey, how you doing? My bad. I don't know if you used over this topic yet, but one of the things I like to do is, because I used to have a habit of making something from a meatball into a feast. It can be the smallest thing and I just blow it out of proportion. So one of the things that helps me is I actually have to slow my mind down. Whether I gotta turn on some like sleep sounds or something to take my mind off of thinking too much. So I'll listen to stuff like, for an example, I'll listen to rain and I'll just listen to rain and I'll just sit there for a second and kind of collect my thoughts a little bit. And then I can actually move forward and make an informed decision on what I'm trying to make an informed decision on, instead of thinking that everything has to be perfect right then and there, but just learning how to like just kind of calm myself down, get to a place where I can channel my thoughts. That way I can make informed decisions. That's what I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for mentioning that. When I was speaking of athletes earlier, all athletes take a timeout. Why do athletes take a timeout? Any thoughts?
You must recover, right? It's the same thing as you're lifting weights, and right when you're lifting weights, although you're building strength, you're going to failure, and then you're resting to reset in order to continue to get stronger or to get better. So yeah, breaks are you can't. It's what it's it's a marathon, right? Not a sprint. If you do a bunch of sprints, you're going to be winded. But if you have an even keel about it, you can go for a lot longer. Sustainability.
And if you're going to the gym, will you work on your legs every single day or your arms every single day? I see some shaking their
Absolutely
head
not.
no. Why not?
Absolutely not.
Why not? You're correct, but why not?
Well, for me, and I'll let other people chime in, but Mr. Deshaun Evans says, to reassess change, strategy, evaluate what is happening.
Mhm.
But as far as your question, Dr. Butler, no, you're gonna burn out. You'll fatigue your legs. If you work on legs every day, it's just a fatigue, right? You're gonna burn out, you're gonna sustain injury. So there's that.
Okay, thank you so much, and I appreciate you putting the doctor out there. I'm not there yet, but maybe I
I
need to
got you.
claim that and get
I-
that next
you-
degree, that
You're a
last degree.
doctor, you're a doctor to us. Go ahead, Mr. Cantrell, you had something?
Well, you know what? It all depends too. I like to go to the gym and let it all out, but it depends on the amount of stress or frustration that I take to the gym with me.
Mhm.
Some days I try to put as much weight as I can, and not so much to lip it, is to pretty much get this pain off of me because sometimes it comes across and we don't realize it that we're so frustrated that we're actually going to pain. You either be hurt by what somebody did to you, somebody said about you, uh, or somebody's doing to a family member, or even somebody just standing by. So when I go to the gym, you know what, it depends on how I feel. If I feel a little frustrated, then I stick to high repetitions, and maybe I will run to clear my mind. But if it's something heavy, then I'll go to the point where, I call it the point of no return. I just lift. And sometimes, I have to watch it because you can get hurt and not even know it. So I had to actually learn that from my mistakes. And I don't know if I hope you brothers and of course you sister don't use this because, I've been doing it and I know it's not right, but that's one way that I can get through.
I am so happy you mentioned this because the reason I ask that question is what can we do so we don't injure ourselves or we heal or repair ourselves? Because if we're working on our biceps every single day, eventually there's going to be some pain or injury. Generally, we need that rest day. If we go to the gym, go hard in the gym, we could injure ourselves. Dr. Randall mentioned, I used to create chronic pain management programs and groups. There are several people that I've worked with over the years who hadn't worked out in a couple months, a year, and then they tell me they ran 10 miles and then they're in the bed for 3 days. Because they know what they used to do when they were 20 years old. Now they're 55 and it's different. Did you know we grieve over our health? The health we used to have? We grieve over moving across the country, overseas. We grieve over a change of job. I haven't even talked about relationships and loved ones yet. We grieve over a lot. But the goal is when we do grieve, how can we grieve and not injure ourselves? It may feel good in the moment, but sometimes we need to look at things from a short-term perspective and a long-term perspective. You could get the best workout ever, but if you're in the hospital or if you injure something or tear something, sometimes it would be preventative if we go hard in the gym, but not as hard. Now we're talking about that physically. Let's put this on our brains, our minds. If we're overwhelmed and stressed, and I don't know if any of you have had a bad day where just multiple things were going wrong. Multiple things. Sometimes we do more things to create more problems when we're not feeling our best. We start those arguments. Our performance may not be the best in different areas of our life. But sometimes we need to rest. Do we have any football fans? Any NFL football fans? Okay. When I was creating pain management groups, probably about maybe about 13 years ago or so, there was this man by the name of Tom Brady. Now, I'm from San Diego, so he wasn't my favorite. Some of you may like him. But he was talking about foods in the nightshade family. And he was saying he didn't eat tomatoes because they help him stay inflamed. He would stay away from the tomatoes and some other foods because it would help him heal better. Sometimes when people are stressed or depressed or traumatized or overwhelmed, or better yet, being a Black man disrespected at work. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. I sure have as a Black woman. Okay. Sometimes when those situations happen, we need to look at how can I deal with this? And I'm going to just say it. I hope you don't mind, Dr. Randall. Some of these institutional racist situations, these people that don't
Preach.
like Black people,
Gonna preach.
how can I manage my job, my task, get my money, be there for my family, and not go to jail behind this person who's acting a fool? You know, you can't tell the boss off. I mean, you can, but they may escort you out. There's consequences, right? But at the same time, if we ever feel trapped, like there's not much we could do, or if we're trying to climb up the corporate ladder and don't want to get fired or we want to get promoted, sometimes we have to toe that fine line. They used to call it biting our tongue. But then people leave work and they leave the job and they're ticked off. And sometimes people hurt themselves in different ways. Maybe food and maybe alcohol. I'm not pretending to be a doctor by no means. Okay. But years ago, they legalized marijuana. Okay. And again, I'm not a doctor. Then all of a sudden we start getting all these edibles and different things that are out there. There's so many people that out there that smoke and use different substances, but they're more anxious now than ever. Now, I'm not promoting marijuana, okay? But there's substances that are out there that people use, and if you want the really good job, sometimes they won't let you have it. They tell you that after the fact. Some of the dyes and colorings in the foods, the candies, the gummies, the different medications that are out there impact us. People wake up tired. Most people don't get 8 hours of sleep at night. Sleep is one of the best things people could do. But most people don't even get 7 hours of sleep. And if you're on social media ever, and you have friends that you follow, it's like, why are people posting at 3 a.m? And they have to be to work at 7? Now, I don't ask questions. I mind my business, stay in my lane, but I notice stuff. Let's see. Dr. Pace, you're laughing. Why is that?
Because sometimes I catch myself doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Because ever since I've retired from the military, I get about 5 hours of sleep.
Mhm.
But what I do when I am up, I'm either on social media just looking around, or I walk down the hallway, go into my office, and I write, because I write a lot.
Okay.
But that's why I just started laughing, because when you were saying, on the social media posting at 3 o'clock in the morning, I often catch myself doing that.
Mhm, mhm. But you're retired. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. You have a little more flexibility than some of us. And it's fine if we get a full hour in a day. However, ongoing, over and over and over again, our bodies start to wear down. We won't drive from Los Angeles to the state of Vermont nonstop. We have to stop. We have to take breaks. It's important for our minds, our bodies to take a break, to rest, rejuvenate, re-energize, recharge. Better yet, do each of you have a cell phone? Does anybody let their cell phone get to about 10%? One? I see some shaking their head like, no way. Yeah. Why not? For those who say no and are shaking their head no, why are you saying no?
Yeah, y'all all know we need that lifeline, that electronic bloodline. Ain't no way on God's green earth, nobody out here except peace is letting their phone get down to 10%. That is blasphemous.
Okay, so I have another question for you. I thought about this about 2 years ago. Why do we treat our cell phones better than we treat ourselves? What do I mean by that? If that cell phone drops, people pick it up, they shine it, they inspect it, they dust it off, they polish it. If the cell phone's running hot, they put it down. You're watching a video or watching something, talking to someone, the phone gets hot, we put it down, we let it rest. How come we don't do that for ourselves? And a number of people treat their cell phones better than we treat ourselves. Any thoughts on that? Or does that make sense?
It's perfect, but they go now to source of instant gratification.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, good things in moderation. At the same time, the world needs you. Your family needs you. But that self-care, it's important. And I know, I'm a little old-fashioned. I will admit that. I was grown up and thought of men as the protector providers. But sometimes you deserve a break too. The world is constantly asking you for things. Sometimes we feel guilty to take those self-care moments. But one of the best things about breaks, if you're only feeling 30%, you only have 30% to give. But just like your cell phone, if you recharge and you're at 70%, 80%, notice I didn't say 100%, I want to, but that 100% leaves real quick and becomes 97 real quick. It's important for us to recharge because the better we feel, the more we could give to our families, the more we could give to ourselves. Do we have any business owners out here? Any business owners, entrepreneurs? If you're feeling 80%, 90% on probably 5 hours of sleep, business owners don't always sleep that much. You can do that for a while, but eventually people get tired. You're working for somebody, there may be some burnout. But I encourage you to figure out what you could do to recharge. In the pandemic, a lot of people had to sit still at the beginning of the pandemic. But I want to challenge each of you to think about self-care or recharging yourself for 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, or less. A lot of people think, oh, it's Monday, I'm going to wait until Saturday to go for a run. Well, you have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to get through. Or the rest of that day on Monday. Sometimes we could get up, breathe, drink some water, go outside, go for a walk or run on our break. It's important for us to recharge in the middle of the week, each day actually, so you could be your best self. And these are tools that can be used so we don't get in a deep depression or overly stressed. Also, if we're sleeping too much, if we're isolating ourselves, if we start losing interest in past hobbies, interests we used to like to do, sometimes we need to say, uh-oh, I'm concerned. Or if one of your buddies is doing that, sometimes we need to say, hey, let's go out. Some people don't like to be around big crowds. And that's okay, but sometimes we just need to call people and check in. If we don't check in, though, it's important for us not to blame ourselves because we don't have control over other people. Sometimes we give the tools to people, but it's up to them to use them. When we were little kids, a lot of times we didn't want people saying, you know, you should do this, or even as adults, we don't always want that. But sometimes we could say, hey, you know, you don't want to meet me somewhere? Can we do a Zoom call? You could have a free Zoom call online with a friend or somebody you're concerned about, just to check in and say, hey, or if you want to check in with someone. Sometimes we think we are here to save the world. Is it possible? Even though we want to. I do believe in do unto others as you would have them do unto you. However, we can't save billions and billions of people. We have no control over it. But what we do have control over is getting better sleep, being a good person. If somebody's coming after you, trying to destroy your name, reputation, character, you don't have to lose it. Sometimes we may want to. But then sometimes we could say, you know, people are messing with me because I'm doing something right. People don't mess with you if you're not doing nothing right. But I say this because there's so many issues that happen with families. There's arguments, communication difficulties. Do you know the comedian Chris Rock? I remember it was probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. He had a comedy show and he was talking about his wife. And he said something like, woman, let me get my other foot in the door before she started asking him things or talking about her day. It's important for people to communicate with their spouse or significant others about, I'm just getting home from work. This is what I need to do to relax. Give me 20 minutes, give me 30 minutes. Or some people like to talk right away. Healthy communication is what it's about. People communicate all the time and it's not healthy. I encourage each of you to figure out what you need throughout the day because we're not always the same at 8 a.m. as we are at 8 p.m. Mr. Milton?
Yes, you said something that resonated. So healthy communication, right? I think that especially as men, we struggle to communicate, being that we are wired differently than our spouses, right? So I have a question. What are some things that you do recommend that helps with communication, in particular with spouses?
All right. You know, there's something fun. Actually, I have a little book next to me. I was talking about it earlier. Have you heard of the 5 love languages? The
I
number
have,
5?
I have,
Okay.
yes.
Sometimes something as simple as learning a person's love language style. Basically, what the 5 love languages are 5 communication styles. It may be affirmations, positive words, acts of service, helping someone, physical touch. Physical touch doesn't even mean sex. It just means physical touch in other ways, like holding hands, things like that. Gifts. Some people like memories. The first place you went out on a date and someone bringing a napkin to a person saying, or a magnet, oh, do you remember the time? For some people, they love that. Others, they don't find it relevant. And then the other one is quality time. Quality time means talking to someone one-on-one, not talking to someone doing your work on the computer or on your phone or watching a game. Quality time means one-on-one support. There's a free quiz online called the 5lovelanguages.com, just the number 5lovelanguages.com. I don't get paid for promoting this. However, it works for a lot of people. And you could take the quiz and it could share what your love language style is and your partner, your spouse's or significant other's love languages, and you could talk about it. Because if a person's love language is acts of service, They want you to help. Actions speak louder than words. If you add one extra thing to their plate, they're going to be mad or frustrated. If you take something off of their to-do list or plate, they're going to be happy. With quality time, they want uninterrupted discussions, no background noise, no distractions. With affirmations, they want kind words, not to be torn down. Do any of you remember a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? The author of that was Dr. John Gray. Dr. Randall, I think I'm going to have to go to school because I need to be quoting some Black authors here.
Well, you got a couple on here, so. there
Oh,
you go.
wonderful, wonderful. Well, I want to hear from them as well. But
Oh, that's fine.
Dr. John Gray, he had a client, and I saw a little video clip of him the other day where there was a husband and wife that had been married for decades. And the wife was complaining because she said the husband doesn't tell her she's beautiful. And she went on and on and on about the husband not saying she's beautiful anymore. Guess what the husband's response was? Any thoughts?
Probably that you are beautiful.
Say that again.
Probably that you are beautiful, trying to cover his tracks.
The husband said, nothing's changed. And the wife is like, but you don't tell me. And he's like, nothing's changed. But if a person's love language is affirmations, they want to be told. Even though you may have told them 20 million times and one, they still want to hear it. Also, with healthy communication, let me tell you a quick story. And Dr. Randall, is our time okay?
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and we'll wrap up here really shortly because we want to
Okay.
be respectful of people's time. So after the story, we'll take a couple questions. I want to be able to give a preview of next month's lecture and also just briefly introduce some of the dignitaries. So yeah, we'll wrap up here really quick.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a short story. There was a wife who spilt some water on the table, and she asked her husband for a couple of paper towels. The husband gave her 2 paper towels, and she said, "Why did you give me 2 paper towels?" And he said, "Well, you asked for 2." And she said, "You see how big this mess is? Why did you give me 2 paper towels?" And he's like, "You asked for a couple." And she's like, "But you see how big this mess is? This is more than a 2 paper towel job." And he's like, "Well, you asked for a couple. Who's right or wrong? Or do you see any relevance to this story?"
Well, they're both right and they're both wrong.
Okay.
But she just assumed that, and I'm just guessing, that when she asked for it, he would have glanced over there and said, "Oh, that's big." And the husband was saying, "Well, she knows what she wants. I'll just give it to her." So they both kind of took it literally without, looking in there and adding a little bit more to the situation at hand.
Absolutely. And I should have prefaced this early on and said, I don't get my feelings hurt easily. If he would have brought her the whole roll, she probably would have said, "Well, why'd you bring me all that?" Right? Sometimes as women, we may do that. Not always. But
You check on the
it's,
baby?
yes, it's important to be clear and say what we mean. A couple is too. We're not mind readers, men or women. So one of the things when we think about healthier communication, we could be direct and clear if we are feeling overwhelmed and stressed, or just basic communication styles. If you're working with people, if you supervise those, sometimes saying sentences that are 7, 10 words or less, being very clear and concise and direct can help with communication. Also, one of the most important things with communication our body language and tone. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. You could say, hi, hello, hi, hello. They're all different. They have different meanings to them. So one of the things we can do with communication is watch our body language and tone. Also with that 5 Love Languages book, I threw this out because I've seen a lot of great work overnight. You don't have to pay for anything. They'll send you your percentages. And there's funny, silly, and academic videos on YouTube that are free that you could learn how to improve communication based on your spouse's or significant other's love language. And it's free. Okay.
Hey,
Also,
what they say, free is my jam.
yes, and let me lastly say, Dr. Randall, one of the
Mhm.
things that is important with couples,
Mhm.
sometimes people take care of everybody else, they take care of the kids, but couples forget to go out on a date. And not go out on a date and talk about problems, but go out and have fun. For those that are single, the dating world is challenging these days. But being clear with your intentions and clear with yourself so you could be your best self and help you win the game, whether you're single or with somebody else or not interested either way. It's about taking care of you and putting yourself first so you could help give to yourself, but also give to others. Thank you, Dr. Randall. I'll take any questions if they have any more, but
Let's get a couple of quick questions from Ms. Taylor. And then again, as we said, we want to be respectful of people's time, but we want to give you a preview for next month to let you know that this is a progressive series. Again, that there was a YouTube channel created and this under educational series. So all of these will be listed on the YouTube. So go ahead, let's take a couple of quick questions for Dr. I'm sorry, I won't say doctor because I see a therapist and I call her doctor, but Mrs. Taylor. Go ahead. Couple questions. Man, don't be scared. She won't bite you, I promise.
also let me quickly say, if anybody takes any medication and it negatively impacts you in any kind of way, talk to your doctor. If you don't want to talk to the doctor, talk to the pharmacist. The pharmacist can send a message as well. Something that's not always talked about, but it comes up. People don't always talk about things. Medications impact people in negative ways. And I'm talking physical health medications, by the way. It's not mental health medication, but it could be. So just a thought.
Yeah, Mr. Contreras had his hand.
Okay.
Yeah, quick question is, when you're looking for a mental health specialist,
Mhm.
what is the norm? You know, because I wouldn't know how to look, you know, because you always hear, hey, I don't want no quack talking to me, or you know, it just gets to a point where it gets embarrassing sometimes, you know, when you ask. So I'm just, you know, an idea.
Great question. Thank you so much for that. For some people, they can ask their primary care provider. For some people, there's a phone number on their healthcare card, and they could say they want a referral to see a therapist if needed. There's therapists, there's psychiatrists. Psychiatrists are the ones that prescribe the medication. Not everybody wants that, I understand. Once they refer you, you could see someone in person. I'm in private practice and utilize what we call telehealth. So just like we're talking on the computer now, I talk to patients at home. I don't go into an office anymore. Around people, I just work on the
Can I
computer. Some
can I
people,
add
go ahead.
can I add to that? Because that's a great question, and it took
Uh-huh.
me a while, and I'll share my experience.
Okay.
So I actually use it as a I shopped around, right? Bottom line is that I go and I ask them specifically for what I want. And you can be as direct as you want because they have a list and they have a criteria. I want a black male or black woman with this type of experience, and they'll find that individual. And then the first couple of sessions, I treat it like an interview. It took me about 3 years to find the one that I've had for now the last 4 years. So just food for thought.
Absolutely, great point. And sometimes we could even do a search online. You could Google a person's name and their areas of expertise pops up. Meaning, do they work with depression, anxiety, life situations? I got an email 2 days ago because I also accept TRICARE. I work with a number of families for different reasons. There's not a lot of Black therapists that work with TRICARE at the one of the companies I get referrals from. And so what you could do is make sure that it's a good fit for you, but also make sure it's a good fit for them. And like he was just saying, interview the therapist. Because if you know you want 6 sessions to figure out how to pass exam to promote your career, ask them, are you capable of this? You know, is this something you're used to working with? It's okay to ask a question. Just because somebody writes it down doesn't necessarily mean it's a specialty. Normally, we don't say we're experts in things because it's very subjective, but you can ask to see more information about their background and have a few questions written down. If you ever needed to reach out to me or anyone else, feel free. That's always open and available to you. But most importantly, sometimes if you know of friends who have therapists, sometimes check in with them and see if they know someone who knows someone who may be a good fit. Sometimes people don't want someone who knows someone, just to be discreet. But keep in mind, just like your health, mental health is very discreet unless somebody's suicidal, homicidal, endangering themselves or someone else. Other than that, sometimes actually the insurances may request things if somebody's trying to apply for FBI, Department of Justice, you know, high profile job. Sometimes there may be a request. However, there's not an easy answer, but you can research the therapists in your network or based on your insurance to help find out who the best person is.
We have, we'll take one more question from Mr. King. Go ahead, Grant. I see you had your hand up. That's why we'll take you as the last question.
I actually didn't have a question, but I am interested in trying to get some services for our fraternity as well. So this may be something I could reach out to you about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
I'll connect you to via text and email. We'll virtually connect you to.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for that question. All the questions.
No, I appreciate you again, Ms. Taylor. Everybody give it up for her. I mean, this is a safe space. Brothers, we don't do this enough. We talk about a lot of things in life, dominoes, spades, football, sports, but we don't ever sit down, just like Ms. Taylor said earlier, we don't ever check in on us and our mental health. Like we go to the doctor for cancer, for cuts, for you know, colonoscopies and all kind of stuff, but when do we ever check in on our mental health? When do we ever do that self-care stuff? When do we ever provide us with a safe space, right? Because we were told from when we were little, toughen up, or, you know, men don't cry, right? But that's inaccurate. My grandpa said, hey, you're not a real man until you cry. So again, you have to understand these emotional things that we put on the back burner. And this is why we say women are different from men. No, we're actually one and the same. We just refuse to accept that. So again, Ms. Taylor, we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. I will hook you and Mr. King up virtually. Right now, I want to do a quick 5 minutes, Trey, and I mean 5 minutes, like our 5 minutes, not your 5 minutes. A quick overview for next month. So the brothers that are coming back next month, they know what to expect next month. And then I'm gonna introduce the dignitaries and take a couple comments and then we'll wrap this up. So go ahead, Trey.
I'm sorry, if I may say, is it best
Yes,
that I
ma'am.
log off now so you can handle the
That's fine. That's fine. It's up to you. You can say it's nothing top secret. You know, we're not doing no secret handshakes or passwords, so you're fine. You can stay on if you like, but it's your
Okay.
choice.
I will. I'll stay on. Thank you.
Go
All
ahead,
right.
Trey.
Yes, sir. So next, the next session, and my fellow companion there, my brother, Mr. Orlando, we'll be tag teaming together, going over the Mark Mason's degree, and the spiritual or the biblical references, and taking away some of the I guess intrinsic lessons to be learned from that degree particularly. We're going to go over the origins, like I said. We're going to go over, good work, true work, square work, and talk in depth about those. So yeah, looking forward to it. And with that, Brother Orlando, do you want to add to that?
You pretty much said it best, man. I'm just looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to expounding on a couple of things that we found out through our research, and just looking forward to really build the brotherhood and share it with you brothers. So yeah, looking forward to it, most definitely.
Yeah, these brothers are gonna bring it. And I want to tell the companions on here that, I was always told, especially about Brumfield, when you get into masonry, you need to explore all the masonry. And he told us when we were coming up that the York Rite is the explanatory side of masonry, right? Because we have brothers that love the Blue House. Oh, I get it. They love the Blue House. But again, they failed to realize that there was 3 levels of fellow crafts. 3, not 1, 3. And we forget about those 3 levels of fellow crafts. So over the course of months and weeks or months, because we do it monthly, we will explore all 3 levels of fellow crafts. We will get deep into it. And most importantly, just like Trey said, it'll be a biblical remembrance, because all of the characters in our rituals are biblical characters, not Masonic characters. So I'm gonna stop. Just know that that's coming. So let me go around real quick and introduce some of our dignitaries. I'll save our past Grandmaster for last. Of course, we have the past Most Illustrious Grand Vice Illustrious Master and all his other titles, Othello Burton. Sir, thank you for joining. He got his pretty picture up, but he don't want to say nothing.
You're
That's okay.
welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. Always outstanding training.
Appreciate it, sir. Again, thank you, Mr. Taylor. We have our overseer of the works for the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite, Robert W. Brown, Council Deliberation, Howard R. Cooks. Sir, thank you. Howard too cool. He don't want to show us his picture. We might get cold if he turn his picture on. So he muted. He might be in the background. So there you go.
Good. Everything's good. I like it.
Appreciate you, sir, for joining. Thank you, sir. We have our Right Worship Grand Lecturer, Louis Cantrell. Sir, thank you for joining.
Everything was great.
Got you. Appreciate you, sir.
I'm logged on.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Luke.
Good afternoon to all. For you brothers who don't recognize me because I don't have my hair slicked back, I got the curl going on today, but because it's Sunday, it's my relaxed day. My name is Louis Cantris, and I am your Right Worshipful Grand Lecturer, and this is fantastic. This is something that we need in our jurisdiction. I just wish that we can do this in every lodge, because mental health is it's really serious, and we don't know how serious it is until it happened. And if I'm not wrong, it just happened to us not too long ago. My heart is still heavy, and I don't think it's ever going to get any lighter, knowing that we were looking at this brother and had no idea how much darkness he had, and I guess there is some truth when they say, you need to bring the light to the other brothers, and and it happened, you know, and we didn't know. And it's too late. And now we have to sit and mourn his passing. So, you know, I thank you very much, Dr. Taylor, or therapist. Dr. Randall, I thank you very much for bringing this. And I hope you continue to bring us, you know, not only Masonic and Masonic lectures. You know, this is something as men we need to know, you know, and we need to be motivated to look into, so we have less of what just happened to us happen to us. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. So just for context, gentlemen, we just had a companion commit suicide in December. And it's funny because we all talked to him, but there was a drastic decline. The loss of his mother, like we have another companion here that just lost his mother, and those things added up, right? And nobody knew. And so they didn't see him for a couple of days, or how the story goes, and they did a wellness check and they found him literally in his house. So again, we can't take this stuff for granted. So I'm gonna continue real quick with my favorite deputy, Brumfield, sir.
Thanks again for having me. Again, I wouldn't miss anything you put on. Thanks to Kenya Taylor. That was an outstanding lecture on mental health. And again, as you've heard all through this, we all need it. Today, I brought a small gang of deputies and grand officials from across jurisdictions. So Dr. Pace, Dr. Harris, Solomon Bowen, thanks again for coming. I won't speak on the big kahuna that who was traveling and I invited. He's gonna speak for himself. And he taught me a long time ago, when your boss is here, you say just a little bit to let people know who you are and then get out of the way. I got it from here on out. Thanks to Companion Walker in Austin. I don't see him anymore. He might have had to go do something, but thanks to both of them for joining. I'm gonna get the rest of your gang to show up one of these lectures. And again, Dr. Randall, well put together and well done. And for my friend Othello, who I haven't seen or spoke to in a while, hey man, nice seeing you again. And to the rest of the folks from California, thanks for having us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. And to my mentor, who I still owe the mission and vision statement to, which you'll have today, as we talked about, one of the guys that I call on quite frequently to kind of keep my head right in masonry when things go to the south and go wrong. You know, one of who I've shared, you know, many manuscripts with, authors' notes. He needs no real introduction, Dr. Sean G. Willis, sir.
Yeah, I'm humbled by all y'all, man. You know, it's still just Sean. Greetings to Brum and everybody else on here, Dr. Randall. Hey, little bro, it's awesome to see this going on. Definitely want to speak to the future Dr. Taylor. You know, you gave us all the credit for being the hardest job on the planet, but in all actuality, it's interesting. It's Women's History Month, unless I missed something for about another week. And it's interesting that 2 days ago, 62 years ago, Dr. Malcolm X, shall we say, if I can give him the title of doctor, said that the most unprotected thing on the planet, the most disrespected person on the planet is none other than a Black woman. And so I want to say thank you for doing what women all throughout history have done, and that's take care of the Black men and make sure that we get to hear what we need to hear to better take care of ourselves and overcoming what you have to bring us this great instruction today through Dr. Randall. So with everybody here in California that I didn't get to see while I was at the homegoing service for none other than Dr. Donald R. Ware, it's good to see you, my brothers, and everybody else. It's always a pleasure to see you all. So little bro, hey, this was awesome. I look forward to hanging out with y'all in the future. And keep it going. The best thing we can do as Masons is continue to teach, because sometimes we forget. That's what it's all about. It's a progressive science.
Yes, sir, will do. And I'll go in this order, because I definitely want to give credence to the 3% Club, the Black men that have achieved doctoral degrees, Dr. Pace, Dr. Harris, Dr. Shepard, and then lastly, we'll round out with past most social Grandmaster Sam King. So, sir, Dr. Pace, if you will, sir.
It's definitely great for the invite. When I saw this information that Brumfield put out there, this is one of the things that I'm actually doing for our Grand Lodge, here in Oklahoma, because I am the Director of Masonic Education and Leadership, for the Blue Lodge, and I'm the Grand Lecturer, for the Red House. So again, just this information that you're putting out, man, it's definitely great. And I always believe in divine intervention. Having, I'm gonna go ahead and say it too, Dr. Taylor on there talking about this, it's just, its timing is perfect. Because last week I went to my VA appointment, and the person that I was talking to, they said, man, I want to send you over to talk to the PTSD psychiatrist, and just to get a little feel, because, sometimes you always say, hey man, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. But sometimes other people, when you're communicating and you're talking, they see those things in you. So I definitely made that appointment because, again, those of you that have served, when you those sergeant major, you put that rank on, sometimes you think you're invincible, said nothing can hurt you. And a lot of times you just look past things like that. So again, perfect timing. And Brumfield, trust me, I'm gonna try to make all of these calls. Even when I'm traveling, I definitely still connect. All right, thanks again for the invite.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dr. Harris, sir.
Hey, greetings, everyone. Once again, outstanding webinar. Thank you for the invite, Ms. Taylor, Dr. Taylor Future. Thank you for the outstanding mental health information. This weekend, I've been in webinars and training all weekend. I had a men's seminar, and everything has come full circle from what you just spoke about. The words of the weekend were unity, teamwork, and harvest. Like-minded men and women building strong bonds and productive bonds reap a plentiful harvest. And in order to do that is through education, growth, and leadership. And everyone that's here today, we're providing that leadership and that growth, and we come together in unity. Let us continue doing what we're doing in the future. I look forward to it. Thank you.
And before you go, Dr. Shepard, we'll go to our Deputy Grand High Priest before we go to our Grand Master. I ain't gonna get fired on my day off, so go ahead, Dr. Shepard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've enjoyed this. I think this is something that we need to do continuously and make sure we keep this conversation going. A lot of Black men do not like to talk about their mental health, and this is something that we need to do as a group in order to make sure and ensure that we can continue to move forward and support our families and our fraternal families as well. So enjoyed the event. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, sir. Go ahead, Deputy Grand High Priest, Mr. Peace.
Dr. Randall, thanks for the invite. Thanks for the reminder. You know how I get a little bit busy and I'll forget it's Sunday.
It's called being retired.
That's true. And I put it to full use, believe me. That's why my phone go down to 10%. I'll leave that phone someplace and leave it for a day or two. But it was a nice forum. I'm sorry I missed the beginning of it, but there was a lot of information put out. And it's something powerful about hearing Black men opening up. In the old days, it was kind of an uncomfortable kind of feeling, but now it's kind of empowering that we know that we are human, and we know that the more people we can trust and talk to, the different perspectives we may receive on what we're going through, because someone else is probably going through it. So going forward, I plan to attend these forums as much as possible. And I would encourage you, Dr. Randall, to keep me in the loop, because I'll need 2 or 3 reminders.
Got you. I
Thank you.
do my best. I do my best. And then let me introduce to some and present to others. Are seated, right? Excellent Grand Commander, right? I'm the Grand Commander of the Pacific Prince Hall, Grand Commander of the United Templars of the state of California. And more importantly, our 56th most worshipful past Grandmaster, the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, free and accepted Masons of the state of California, no other than one of my other bosses, the several of you on here, Samuel T. King. Sir, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, sir. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be in on this particular subject. As Dr. Randall said earlier, and as we spoke of one of our brothers who just recently committed suicide, I am working hard to try to form a mental health program for the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of California and for all of its Masonic bodies to be able to have a outreach where if someone feels that they are in a distressed situation and they don't know who to talk to, we will hopefully have this group where they can just reach out and get a hold of someone that could probably help them not go as far as our good brother did. So looking forward to continue to be on these talks, hoping to make more and more contacts so that we can begin to build a mental health program within our fraternal bodies here in California. Thank you very much for having me on, Brother Randall, and please keep me abreast as well as when the next one is coming up.
Yes, sir. Will do. So these series will go monthly. Like I said, we created a podcast essentially on YouTube because I use YouTube a lot for school. These can be searched under YouTube for Everybody's Essay under educational series. That'll be the buzzwords. Again, we will go through a series of York Rite lectures, but we will do pivots here and there to do financial literacy. We did mental health. We're going to do an overall wellness because as men of color, we need to make sure and show people that we're more than just flashy, collars and emblems, that we have substance, right? And by the sheer fact that we have some people that have achieved advanced education on here, not that that's a complete measuring stick, it just shows that we're bigger than what you see. So again, I thank everybody for giving up their Sunday. Look forward to seeing everybody next month for the Mark Master's degree, which should be very, very, very informative. Those two brothers that are coming are very well versed. They speak better than I do because they have better education and better outcome. But it's all good. Love them to death. Again, thank everybody. Deputy Solomon, sir, if you could get my information from Brumfield, let's connect offline. Just so we can stay locked in and lockstep. Burley Fields, appreciate you, sir, and then our condolences for the loss of your mother as well. Fellow prayers for you and your mom as well as what she's going through. All my brothers from Mount Moriah, our the commander is on here. Our potentate is on here from the Zim Temple. So again, giving everybody their just due. Appreciate everybody, man. We're going to go ahead and conclude this. I'll stop the recording. I'll leave the forum open if we want to just fellowship.